Hey everyone, my name is Perry, and welcome back to the cassette phase. So I hope that you all had a nice weekend. I'll tell you what, here in North Texas, we actually got some snow, like 6 inches of snow, which is good for us. We usually get like flurries a couple of times a year, but nothing that ever sticks. Or we'll get like sleet and ice and what do they call it? Wintry mix. That's not any fun, and it just makes the roads hard to deal with. But this was just snow, like the fun kind of snow. My kids got to make a snowman for the first time in forever. There's a lake in the center of our neighborhood that has like a really nice little hill right up next to it, which was perfect for sledding. So we went down there and did that one day. And I gotta tell you, it was like, I got that throwback feeling. It was the whole neighborhood, just kids and families down there sledding. It was great. And outside of me with my phone out, capturing footage like I usually do, it could have easily been 1987 out there that day. Just, like I said, kids and families out there having a fun, simple time. It was great. And as you can see, the den is still in a state of transition, which I don't like when it's like that in here. So it won't be much longer. We got a lot of good painting done over the weekend with the help of my wife. I've got one wall left to go, and it's the wall with the window on it, so it shouldn't take too long. I actually don't mind painting that much. It can be kind of relaxing in a way. I was in here working on it this weekend, and I had the live stream going with New 80s Revolution and Colin from Canada. So that was great to have that going while I was in here painting. It was a good time overall. And once all the painting is done, I can start putting some stuff back up on the walls. And I'll probably do a full video, in fact I know that I will, showing you guys the end result, because there have been some pretty significant changes here in the den. All of them are for the better, in my opinion, and we're not going to lose the relaxing, nostalgic vibe that we've got going on in here, trust me on that. But today I want to give you all an update on my small but growing Sega Genesis collection. As I mentioned in a video a few months back, I was always a Nintendo kid. So I never really got to experience any of these great old Sega games, with the exception of the original Sonic the Hedgehog and Mortal Kombat over at a friend's house. And what I'm quickly finding is that the 16-bit era of retro gaming may be my favorite. I've always had a fondness for the 8-bit era with the Nintendo. The NES was the first console that I ever got. So I've got great memories of that, and I still love a lot of those games. But what I'm finding is that sometimes the 16-bit games can be just as good, if not better, when we're just talking about having fun playing simple video games. So I don't have any heavy hitters here, I don't think, but I have picked up a few games over the past several months, and that's one of the things that kind of drew me in about the Genesis, honestly, was that you can get some of these more common, yet still classic games for relatively cheap. And while a lot of my retro gaming is done through emulation, it's still fun to collect a few physical games here and there to play on original hardware. But regardless of format, it's all fun to me. But with that said, I haven't really played any of these games to this point. And that's for a few different reasons. For one, I'm still trying to figure out the whole CRT TV situation. As far as where I want to place it here in the room. I think I've got that figured out now for the most part. I do still need to add an AV switch to get it running the way I want it to. Also, I only have the original 3-button controller for the Sega Genesis. So I don't really want to tackle any of the fighting games until I can track down one of those 6-button controllers. I just think it would be easier that way. Also, I've been playing a lot of Super Metroid on the Nintendo Switch. And I've been having a blast with that game, honestly. It's so great, fantastic. I'm trying to beat it for the first time in my life, so that's been taking up a lot of my video game time lately. So I might actually do a review video on Super Metroid once I'm done with it. It's just been that great. So, and then lastly, I want to do a reaction video of sorts with you guys. Each time I play one of these Genesis games for the first time, I want to turn the camera on and get some footage and kind of share that experience with you all. So let's head on over to the rug and I'll show you which games I've gotten so far. And then I'm going to ask for your help in recommending which games do you think I should play through first on the upcoming reaction videos. Sound like fun to you? Come hang out. Okay everyone, welcome back to the rug. And here on the ottoman you'll see a game that I've already shown you guys before. One of the first ones I picked up for the collection. The classic Altered Beast. And we actually did a reaction video to this previously, if you want to go back and check that out. I had a lot of fun playing this for the first time. I can see why it was such an arcade classic and kind of one of the staples that you kind of have to have on the Genesis. And some of these I've already shown you before, but we're just going through them all. I've got Aladdin here. I've heard that some of these Disney games are a lot of fun on the Genesis, so I'm excited to check it out, even if it is going to be difficult. I'm fully prepared for that one to be hard. I don't know. Is this one better on Sega or is it better on Super Nintendo? What do you guys think? I've heard good things about both. Never played either one, so I'm excited to check that one out. Sticking with Disney, sticking with challenging from what I've heard, Lion King. I mean, you know, this one was super cheap when I saw it, had to grab it. Excited to give it a try. I have heard that it's pretty difficult. So is this one that's going to make me want to slam the controller down on the ground, or is it more fun than it is hard? We'll have to find out. Classic sports title here, NBA Jam. Now I did play this on Super Nintendo as a kid. Never owned it, but we rented it all the time. Had a great time with this, so I imagine it's going to be more of the same on the Genesis. Looking forward to seeing if I can play as Sean Kemp or Penny Hardaway. Just some of those classic 90s NBA players. That'll be fun. Grabbed this one on a whim because if you've been with the channel a while, you know that I like advertising mascots. I did a whole video about them. And 7-Up's Cool Spot got his own video games back in the day. And the one on the Nintendo was just kind of like a puzzle game. Wasn't anything great. There wasn't anything to it. But from what I can tell, from looking at this box art and a couple of videos that I've seen online, this is more of an actual like video game, like I don't know if it's platformer, like adventure style game, but the graphics looked cool. And I've always been a fan of the aesthetic of the mascot of Cool Spot, so really happy to have that one. One of the fighting games that I mentioned, probably my favorite Mortal Kombat game. Now I haven't played them all, or I haven't played any of the modern ones, but as far as the retro ones go, I always liked Mortal Kombat 2 the best. Played a ton of it on Super Nintendo as a kid. So I imagine it'll be similar on the Genesis, but I do want to wait until I can get a 6-button controller. Got a couple of Echo the Dolphin games here. Might as well pull them both up here. I don't know, I've heard mixed things about these, but I always thought they looked cool as a kid. I remember seeing commercials for like Game Gear and just thinking, ooh, that looks fun. And, you know, dolphins and ocean life was such a big, like, I don't know, it was like a trend with us kids back in the early 90s. So this was probably capitalizing on that. But if they're fun, like swim around type simulations, you know, with good music, I'll probably have a good time with these. Here's a game based on one of my favorite cartoons from the 90s, Tiny Toon Adventures. Buster's Hidden Treasure. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, some of the games based on cartoons from back then are hit or miss, but this one seems to get pretty positive reviews across the board. And I really liked this cartoon, like I said, so Should be a fun one to check out. Looks like a good summer game, you know, kind of beach island themed. Here's a similar one, Tasmania. This is another one that I think I found for super cheap, and I just liked the box art. You know, just like everyone else, I liked Looney Tunes and stuff back in the 90s. I always thought Taz was kind of a cool character. Yes, if I can whirl around like a tornado and cause some destruction and some mayhem in a cartoon type setting, hey, I'm all for that. Another sports game. Nothing too exciting. We've got Madden 94. I have another Madden as well, but Madden 94 was the one that I played on Super Nintendo. It was a rental. So I'm really more familiar with those teams and those rosters from back then. But I like sports games. I like sports video games, being a big sports fan, and I think the Sega Genesis is going to be a great system for me for retro sports games. The original. I said on a prior video that this was the pack-in game. That wasn't always the pack-in game, I learned. There were some other earlier consoles that had different games packed in, like Altered Beast and maybe even like Golden Axe, I'm not sure, but the original Sonic. I played this on a reaction video a few months back too, if you want to check that out. And then, like I mentioned before, another John Madden game, 92 this time. So just a little bit earlier. Both of these games would have been in the heyday of the Dallas Cowboys. They haven't really had a heyday since then, but maybe that's why it's so fun for me to harken back to these games from the 90s. But that's it for boxed games. Let me go grab some of the loose carts, and I'll show you those next. So when I first started picking up games for the Genesis, I said that I wanted to stick with boxed only. They didn't have to be complete in box, but I at least wanted the box to protect the cartridge and to display it on the shelf and all of that. But I quickly found that if you're willing to grab a few of these loose, you can get some really fun classic gaming experiences for really cheap. So I do have a little collection of loose cartridges that I'll show you now, stored in this cool little 3D printed stand that I picked up off of Etsy. So let's just go through these in order. We've got Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. I'll be honest, I'd never heard of this, but as I started researching Sega a little bit, everybody was talking about how fun this one, and I think the other one, World of Illusion, how fun these were. If you just like, fun, innocent, classic platforming style games. Yeah, so I'm excited to try that one. I've heard that the environments are cool, the graphics are pretty good, and it has good music. So I'm sold. Here we have a game based on one of my favorite cartoons from the 90s. Like I've mentioned before, Gargoyles was kind of like Disney's version of Batman the Animated Series, at least in my opinion. The way it looked, kind of the art style, the whole aesthetic, the whole vibe of the show, that's just what it reminded me of. But it eventually, you watch a little bit of it and it becomes its own thing, and you get to know the characters, and they go on all kinds of fun adventures and really good memories of Gargoyles. So I'm hoping that the game is just as good as the show. All right, here's a classic essential here with Golden Axe. I've never played Golden Axe, at least not that I can remember. And if I did, it would have been probably in the arcade. I don't think I've ever played it on a home console. So that may be a good one to do a reaction video on. Just play through Golden Axe for their very first time ever. What do we have here? We've got... This was kind of a blind pickup. It was super cheap at one of the game exchange stores nearby. Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. Know nothing about it. Just looking at the art, maybe it's kind of like Prince of Persia style gameplay. I don't know. We'll check it out though and see if it's any fun. All right, another sports game here. We've got RBI Baseball 93. I grabbed this because RBI Baseball is my favorite version of baseball on the NES. I loved playing as the St. Louis Cardinals or the National League All-Stars back in the day. That game is one of the reasons why, well, that along with baseball cards, of course. That's one of the reasons why I can remember statistics and batting orders and things like that for random teams from the late 80s and early 90s. Now, Revenge of Shinobi, I was doing a marketplace pickup. There was a guy dumping a bunch of his loose games for cheap, and he even said they're kind of dinged up, but they all play. So the labels aren't in the greatest shape, but I was there to pick up a couple of different games, and he was like, "Oh, I also have Revenge of Shinobi. If you'd be interested, I'll throw it in for another $5." I was like, "Okay." I've heard that this is a Sega classic. Never played it. I always liked Ninja Gaiden on the NES, so maybe this will be similar. I don't know, but we're gonna find out. All right, you guys know that I'm a comic book fan and a big fan of the X-Men. So we've got, it's just called X-Men. I'll try this out probably pretty soon. I'm excited for this one. Now, can I play as all these guys? Can I be Nightcrawler? I assume that I can be Gambit and Wolverine just based on the time that this came out. Those guys were mega popular. Yeah. Some mutant action with X-Men there. All right, wrapping it up with just a couple of sports games. Wimbledon Championship Tennis. I don't know. I love watching Wimbledon, and I usually enjoy tennis games on video game systems, so I don't know. We'll give it a shot and see. And then the last one, which I've heard is one of the best sports titles on any system. Now, I had NHL 94 on Super Nintendo as a kid, and it might have been my most played game. I played the heck out of that thing. I liked to use the New York Rangers back then with Mark Messier. Just really fun. The controls are great. You can do the one-timers and all that kind of stuff, so I imagine that it'll be similar on the Genesis, but I'm going to check it out and find out for sure. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to fill this back up, and pretty soon, like I said, we'll start playing through some of these games together and see how they are. And there we are. So as I mentioned before, sound off in the comments and let me know which game do you think I should play first. And if you have any tips on gameplay or anything like that, that's always appreciated too, because I'm such a casual when it comes to video games. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on every step of my retro gaming journey along the way. And also updates to the den, pickups, and just sharing all kinds of fun memories from the 80s and the 90s. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.